What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are having a great afternoon. It is Wednesday, and I thought we would do something kind of fun. This is a little different than what we normally do on this channel. Typically, we do pre-recorded stuff and tech stuff, but today, I've been wanting to do this for a while. We're going to take probably the most popular video we've ever had on the channel in the last 11 years. It came out in the first week that the channel ever existed. So I think it was number 10 or something, episode 10, but we were shooting every day at that point. So what I thought we would do is we're going to go ahead and watch this back, and we're going to do like a reaction video to one of my own videos. And I know that sounds weird, but I think it's going to be interesting for me. I have not watched this, obviously, since it came out. I don't watch my stuff later. So it's been a long time, and I think this is going to be funny. And this is also going to be educational. And let's see how much we have learned in the last 11 years about a lot of things. So I think this will be kind of fun. So let's just dive right into it, shall we? I should tell everybody this is a ad-free live stream like normal. So if you want to use a super chat, you're welcome to do so. I'll try to keep up with them as much as possible. We're going to be pausing and talking and stuff during this thing anyway. It's a 10-minute video, but this is going to be fun. So let's get going on this thing. Let's bring this video up really quick.
How's it going? Welcome back to Dylan Pickup's blog.
Okay, so first of all, before we even get started on any of this, this was shot on a little handheld action camera. It was not a GoPro, it was a Sony, I think. So obviously shooting technology has come a long way, and audio and stuff. This is actually, the preamp was so noisy in this thing. And this was shot in an office. Just to give you a little background, this is shot in an office, like a bedroom of my old house many years ago. But behind the camera, on the other side of the camera, Leslie and I were sharing the same desk. She was working from home and she was doing her job, and we were doing this all in the same room. You can see my old pickup winder up there, the very basic Shatton style pickup winder, and some very limited selection of parts too. Okay, so let's go through this.
Today we're going to be talking about pots, as in the volume and tone type, on your guitar. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I definitely hadn't done this very
All
well.
right, so let's talk about this. What pots should I put in my guitar? Now we know that the main choices for pots are 250 K,
Sure,
and 500 K, and sometimes 1 meg ohm for basses and stuff, or if you're really trying to let some treble go. So
actually, a lot of times people will go the opposite way with the bass, right? They'll end up putting a 250 in it, which is, I was actually thinking of Jazz Masters here, probably, but anyway, so make an on-the-run correction here. Also, you can see the Fuchs drawing. I was playing Fuchs amps back then.
usually 250K pots are for single coils, 500K pots are for humbuckers. That's kind of the normal buzzword on the internet, right? That's kind of the most common. Let's talk about why those choices are made and if they really are a rule that we should follow every time. First of all, let's talk about the basics of how a guitar circuit works with no tone pots or anything in them. So here we have our little Fuchs amp, we have our
so boring.
pickup over here, and we have nothing in it. There's no circuit. It's basically, or there is a circuit, but there's nothing in it. There's no resistors, there's no pots. And you can do this. You can just hook your pickup up to your output jack. Boom, you have this circuit right here. All the frequencies are going through. Now there's a couple fundamental things we need to know before we start building a guitar circuit. One is, the very first thing is that electricity is always going to take the path of least resistance to ground. So what do we mean by that? We mean that if we were to put a wire between here with no resistance, zero, a short, that all the signal, even though there was still a wire going to the amp, all the signal would be redirected through this straight to ground because it's the path of least resistance. If we put a resistor in here that was, let's say 250K or 500K, then some of the signal would go to ground and some of it would pass through because it's not a direct short. So some of it would go and some of it wouldn't.
You can hear Leslie's keyboard clicking in the background. That's really hilarious. Yeah. So, and what's really funny about this is I am doing this. There have been people saying in the comments for many years that I talked about the signal going backwards. But this is, even back in the day, I really care about explaining stuff in a way that makes sense to people that actually play guitar, not engineers.
What frequencies are the first ones to go? This is an interesting thing and what plays into all of this. High frequencies, the very highest of frequencies, are the first ones to get filtered off the top anytime we have a short to ground in our guitar circuit. So this means that anytime we add something, and this is something to remember for the guitar circuit in general, anytime we add a pot that uses a short to ground, or we use a capacitor that shorts to ground, or we use anything at all in the guitar that shorts to ground, we're going to lose some highs when we use that component. Okay? So the simpler the circuit, the more accurately the signal over here from the pickup is going to be transferred to the amp.
This is all still really good. This all actually, so for those of you that are just now showing up, this is literally the first time I've watched this in 11 years since I made it, or almost 12 now. This is all really good. It all still makes sense. One of the things that I've added to this over the years is that we talk about this being a parasitic circuit. So I talk about that. So anytime you add a component on a passive guitar, you're actually robbing signal from it, right? And so, yeah, there you go.
Okay. So that is one thing. Now, if we go ahead and we put a volume pot in here, now we're all of a sudden able to vary how much that signal goes to ground. Here's how that works. Over here we have a diagram, or it's actually kind of a drawing really, of how your simple volume pot works in your guitar. One leg, there's three legs. One leg is usually bent over and soldered to the case, which is shorted directly to ground. The input comes in from your pickup, and it goes around in a circle, and it's actually the full input signal here. The outer ring is usually some kind of carbon or graphite that has a set resistance to it for the whole length. And then there is an arm, a wiper, that basically takes the input signal and touches it to the outside, and it creates a path. Now when the volume is all the way down, the shortest path to ground is present, and you have basically a short to ground.
God, that preamp
just like we had over there a minute ago with that wire, no volume. As we go this way, the path to ground gets longer and the guitar gets louder.
Yeah, except that I've got this backwards. I didn't even realize this when I was looking at this earlier. So it's not backwards. It will still work. But if you'll notice, the input is on the inside and the output is on the outside, which is not. That green in the middle actually should be labeled output, and you actually don't use the other one. So, well, you do. I guess it depends how you look at this. It could work either way, but the accurate way for guitar stuff, I drew it backwards. It actually should be, the green one should be output and the red one should be input. However, the same theory applies, but I drew it wrong. That's pretty wild. And this is crazy because this is like a standard that people use on the internet now. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Now, the resistance that this whole thing starts with is set by the value of the resistor that is this outer ring.
Usually it's the thickness.
250K, 500K, 1 megohm, depending on your selection of potentiometer. Now, why does it matter? Why does it matter which one you pick? Because if this, remember that this outer ring is basically a resistor. if this is 250K, then it will still have a shorter path to ground than a 500K resistor will.
Yep.
That means that more highs will get filtered off with a lower resistance potentiometer.
This is a really
because
good
the starting
video.
out value of it, the wide open value of it,
Boring as heck,
is still
but it's really
lower,
good.
a shorter path to ground. So just remember that the lower number, so we have 500, we have 250, and let's say we have a nail, okay? That is 0 because it's a short. You know, if you just put a piece of metal across something, it's a short. The lower the number, the faster the resistance to ground. The faster the resistance to ground, the more high frequencies are going to get filtered off. That is why commonly a 250K pot is used for single coils, because single coils are said to most of the time be more high frequencies, more tapered towards the high frequencies, so they use a faster resistance to ground, you know, faster path to ground with a lower resistance pot to tame it down a little. Humbuckers, because if you go to how humbuckers work, you'll remember that because of the way the coils are structured, you have a little less highs, so you want to let some more of those go, so you have a higher resistance pot. Is that the rule? I personally don't think that's the rule. That is the common way, yes. But there are other ways to do this. Basically, you can use a 500K pot with a single coil.
Yep.
You just have to use a different capacitor. What if the point of your guitar was to be a humbucker that was very, very bright, like a older classic wound PAF style that is only like 7.9K. That's a very bright humbucker. In fact, they're really jangly, and sometimes they're kind of harsh on the high ends. I personally would put a 250K pot in it. Actually, I wouldn't. I would actually put a 500K pot in it and then put a fatter capacitor. But you could do the same thing. There's any combination of these things that you could do to create your tone in your guitar.
Yep.
Just because somebody says you have single coils, you should put 250K in there, that doesn't mean anything. What if you put a really hot single coil that is, you know, you could put a 10K single coil in a Stratocaster and it could be really super dark and you would want to let some more of those bright things go. You could put a 500K pot in there. You could either put a different capacitor. Next time we're going to talk about tone caps and how that factors into all of this. But for now, just remember, the shorter path to ground, the lower number, is going to cut out more highs. The higher number, the longer path to ground, is going to cut out less highs.
And a refinement to this conversation that we've been talking about it lately, is not only does it cut out the high frequencies, this is the basics of this video, but it also shifts the entire, because we're looking at the circuit as a whole, it shifts the entire resonant peak of the whole circuit, right? So the circuit in your guitar, in a passive guitar, is the pickup, the pots, the cap, and your cable until the first preamp. So it could be a pedal, it could be whatever. But the cable's part of your guitar circuit, not part of your amp circuit. So that all works together. And it shifts the entire resonant peak of that circuit when you put different pots in it. That's
basically it. But those are very fundamental things to remember in a guitar circuit. Next time we'll talk about tone pots and tone caps and how those factor in and how we can basically make all of this a whole different combination with a different capacitor and a 500K pot and a single coil pickup. There's all kinds of different combinations you could do. So you can throw everything you ever learned out the window and explore some new territory, and it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks for stopping by. If this made any more questions, if this raises any more questions, if you want to add something to the list of questions that we're going to talk about, please let us know. Until then, this has been Dylan Pickup's blog, and we'll see you next time.
Dang, that was before Dylan Talks Tone. That was before anything. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that was fun. I haven't watched that since I made it. And it's got almost 250,000 views on it, which for my stuff, that's a lot. So Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun thing to do. It's absolutely painful to watch it because it's terrible. And it's also not fun to watch. It's funny that when I see this guitar stuff on the internet, this really nerdy guitar stuff on the internet, it's literally that boring to me when I watch it. So it's also that boring to me when I make it. But it's really useful stuff. This and everything, and I'm glad because I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know if what I said 10 years ago or 11 years ago was still going to stand up. Everything did, which is good. That's good. That means we're really based in the science. We're really, we care about the facts of it. And it's not, you know what I mean? It's still, the science is still the science, and it hasn't gone beyond that. Yeah, man, that was fun. Thanks for hanging out. This was just a weird little video. I was like, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and well, there you go. Maybe we'll do another one. I don't know which one it would be. I should look at something that maybe I have actually changed my mind on over the last 11 years, because we all grow and learn and do different stuff. So maybe there's something I feel differently about now, but I'd have to watch it ahead of time, which would kind of ruin it. So I'm not sure. Maybe is there a video that you can think of? Put this in the comments, not in the chat, but in the comments below, that you say, that you might notice that, hey, you used to say this and you don't say that anymore. Put that in the comments and maybe we'll do that video, because that would be even more fun if it's something that I've actually changed my mind on, or if that I was wrong on and have learned since then. And we could talk about that. That would be super fun to do too. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, you guys. This was great. We will see you tomorrow for our live stream.